What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you some information about the Expanse, Osiris Reborn, following an interview / live stream I did with Owlcat Games, the developer of the game. But I wanted to add this little preamble to the beginning of this video to just sort of provide a little bit of context. So the Expanse Osiris Reborn was just announced very recently, and it also just so happens to be Owlcat's birthday. They turned 9 as well, and so they were doing a live stream to talk about both of those things. They invited me on to also ask them questions and honestly talk about some other stuff as well, but the point of this video is editing most of that down to just the Expanse. I don't want to get too carried away and edit out absolutely every little thing, and to that end there's going to be some parts where they're taking questions from the chat of the live stream as I was asking them questions, so hopefully that's not too hard to follow for people. But otherwise, I sat down with several of the community managers from Owlcat Games who shared what they could share currently, though do keep in mind with this game only just recently being announced, there are some things they're obviously not going to discuss because they are either still in flux or, would just straight up be spoilers, of course. But with no further ado, here is that.
So, tell us, how did you enjoy the trailer and the announcement overall? Did you expect it coming, or it was a complete surprise?
So it was a little bit of a surprise. I would say as part of the teaser, one of the main things people kept guessing was the Expanse, which had to do with the mention of Osiris, of course, and then in the bottom right corner, that was that scrolling text in the teaser that mentioned some things that were kind of relevant to the Expanse, from what I understand. And so in that way, it was definitely one of the guesses people had. But as with any good teaser, none of it lined up perfectly, so it was still a surprise in that way. As for the trailer itself, it looks like a big push in the way Owlcat's been talking about going in terms of production value and things like that, because it's a very impressive trailer. So that was kind of my initial impressions. Given the sort of shift in direction from your guys' previous CRPGs, even though they were adding co-op to Rogue Trader as an example, was that a deliberate choice on your guys' end to try to make sure you land that initial experience in the genre move first? Or was it just kind of like, this isn't really a story that has co-op involved?
I mean, it's kind of, I guess it's closer to the second. It's very focused around the captain and their story and the story of their family and friends. So we thought about how we could put co-op into it, but we didn't have any good ideas how it could be done, because I mean, companions are clearly their own people and you can't replace them with other players. Yeah, and the twin, well, they are also their own person, they have their own personality. So yeah, it felt like it would make the game less fun. It would take away from the focus on the main story.
I hear you. I mean, as somebody who doesn't really play too many co-op games these days, it's not a huge deal to me. But I think, as long as the narrative that you guys want to put in the game manages to come across better in that way, I think it'll wind up being fine in the end. But I actually did have another question myself, if we're not too caught up in chat, which, well, I was actually a little curious about when the game started development. Because you guys have honestly just working on so many projects these days between Rogue Trader DLC, Dark Heresy, this game. I think there was one more unannounced from an AMA a while back. I'm not sure about that, but so I was kind of curious just when you guys got started on this one specifically.
I think it started somewhere after Wrath of the Righteous release. It's difficult. I feel like it's all. I mean, it has some stages like pre-production and prototyping. So maybe it's better to ask someone who was more involved than us in these stages.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but it's been
maybe
in development for
ago.
quite a long time. Yeah, I think something like that.
That's funny. You mentioned Wrath of the Righteous specifically, because I remember right after that game released, there was a bunch of speculation about some sci-fi project you guys had posted job postings for, I think. And everybody just assumed it was Rogue Trader when you guys pivoted to Warhammer 40K because of all the tech involved. So it's kind of funny that there was some truth to both of those things.
Yeah, we kind of hired for both. The difference is that for the Expanse, we switched to Unreal Engine. I think it was the fourth one at first and the fifth version later.
Gotcha.
Now it's on Unreal 5, I think.
We've got a question in the chat. How is a glass with a drink possible in zero gravity? Or is it a special glass?
Well, it's not a glass, it's a cup. It was actually an homage for a scene from the show where the Rocinante team prepares to attack Thought Station. And James Holden is sitting in his chair and he's like drinking coffee. And Amos then like cut this shit, put it away because they will turn on the engine on, it'll hit someone in the head. Yeah, so we kind of reference that technically you can drink from the cup in 0G. It will be just kind of weird because you will have to stick your tongue into it. Because the liquid, it sticks to the sides of the cup. Kind of like, yeah, it just sticks. So you need to either put a straw into it or stick your tongue into it like a cat.
Or just maybe swallow it whole.
Stick a finger.
Yeah, it flies like a bob, and you just open your mouth and swallow it like a
The thing
frog.
with this trailer is that we had to took some artistic liberties because if you do it accurately, most people who live on Earth and who are not familiar with all this space stuff will think it's super weird. I mean, we could use the 0G cup. It exists. They use it on ISS. But it has really weird shape. And when I first saw it, I thought it was some kind of medical equipment.
Oh, wow.
And drinking from it would look kind of weird for people who are not familiar with it. So,
speaking of really minute details like that, I'm curious if there's any sort of in-game presentation of the universe, because I mean, obviously there will be something like that, but in terms of the way you onboard new people to the universe, because realistically, there's some people who are interested in your games who aren't necessarily interested in the Expanse. And with Rogue Trader and even Wrath of the Righteous, you have things like those in-game glossaries that obviously give you a clearer picture if you need them of certain terms. Will there be anything like that with this particular game? Or is it just kind of through the narrative?
We plan to introduce people who are not familiar with the Expanse, so they feel at home and they will either understand everything from the context and the dialogues or additional information they can find, as always. So you don't need to watch all the show episodes or read all the books, but if you do, it will be more fun because then you will oh, I've read about this place. Oh, I saw this place in the show. Oh, I know this person. I've seen them in the show.
Yeah.
Even Pinkwater, people who read the books will recognize the name, probably. That it was a short episode in the books, I think, and in the Expanse of Osiris Reborn, you start as a Pinkwater mercenary.
One question I had, continuing on, you mentioned the books and the TV show and everything before we got sort of interrupted there. One thing I was really curious about is we know from yesterday that it's meant to follow the first couple books, the first couple seasons of the TV show. But I was curious then how much sort of wiggle room you have in terms of the narrative, because I assume it's not following those things one to one. And then how do you weave choice and consequence into a sort of pre-existing narrative while still making it interesting? As much as you can say, mind you.
Well, I can't say a lot because it will be spoilerish.
Yeah.
But we have some room. There are events, global events that you see in the show, and they happen, and they're referenced in the background of the story, and they kind of influence what you see. And if you visit a place, for example, series where something bad happened, people will discuss that something bad happened. They will watch the news about that. So you can experience some of the global events from the point of view of regular people, and they will also kind of affect you. But overall, you have your own story, and it happens elsewhere. Is it based entirely on the show, or are the book elements too? Well, there are some book elements, like we managed to make Belter's tall. Obviously, you can't do it in the show because that would limit the amount of people you can cast. I mean, where would you find people who are over 2 meters tall and can act and can be really good at it? But we just model them this way, so you can have tall Belters. Yeah.
And I imagine that'll play a role in character creation as well, right? Since I believe it was mentioned you can be an
Yeah.
Earth or a Martian or a Belter.
Yeah, they will have like different body types.
Nice. Outside of just the sort of cosmetic portion of that, I imagine that will influence gameplay in some way. Is that purely going to be like, say, background options in a conversation, or is there more mechanical things that will inevitably be involved?
I'm not sure I can speak about the mechanical parts, but your sort of origin, it will come up and there will be some reactivity to it.
We also got a question about streaming someone who is with us for a long time, I suppose. So your old streams with Wooden Dragon, and they asking if we are going to make similar streams again for our future projects. And well, I think the answer is something about yes. We are trying to
Resurrect the tradition.
Resurrect the tradition and make our streams regular again. You could notice we went online more often for the last few months, and we are thinking to keep this up. So yeah, stay tuned, and there will be more streams later.
We'll ask about the cover art, if it contains protagonist and the twin. I saw actually this asked a lot, and people speculate that one of the characters is the protagonist. But no, the protagonist is the background figure that wears the helmet, and you don't see their face. And all other people, they are not the protagonist, they're someone you will meet along the way. And your twin is also not featured because when it's an identical twin, so when you make yourself, you automatically make your twin's face, and then you can kind of customize some parts of their appearance because maybe you don't want to be like super identical. Maybe you want to have different haircuts. So anyway, we can't put your sibling on the poster because we don't know how you will make it look. We will make them look. So they are not in it. It's just, some people. And Gemini, your ship, and some blue thing. So that Expanse fans probably know what it is. No, it's not like in Mass Effect Andromeda. You had different twins in Mass Effect Andromeda, a boy and a girl. Here you have like identical twins.
Like the same gender.
Yeah, the same gender, the same face.
Oh, that's an important question. How many of the people in that image can we make out with? We can't answer this question yet.
You will have to stick around and wait for us to answer the question. We are not going to open all of our cards yet because
that's the one people always want to know. Well, one thing I know from your previous games people have an interest in is there tends to be some sort of side system, which, in Wrath of the Righteous, it was the Crusade management, and Kingmaker, it was your kingdom, and Rogue Trader, it's handling your colonies. Is there anything like that in this game, or would you say that shift, just kind of in approach with the genre and everything, kind of doesn't make that necessary or something you guys wanted to do?
Oh, there is no such extras. It's more story focused. We don't want to distract you. Will there be mini games? I'll need to check. I don't remember. Probably. Not sure about puzzles. Not sure about the whole level of puzzles. I mean, if you don't behave, I will ask them to add one.
Yeah, I've got a few. Mostly I'm trying to dance around the spoilers I know you guys can't talk about. I think one thing that's pretty obvious is people are going to draw some big comparisons to the Mass Effect franchise. Would you say you guys welcome those comparisons, or is there anything in particular you want to do to set this apart, both gameplay and in terms of just people's expectations? Like, is this something you were like, I mean, yeah, it's more or less that, or you just kind of want the setting to speak on its own, that kind of thing?
I mean, obviously, we were inspired by Mass Effect a lot, and gameplay will, and the genre kind of resemble Mass Effect in a lot of ways, but the universe is different. Mass Effect is kind of more space opera and
A little more fantastical.
kind of, yeah, it has cool aliens and everything, and the Expanse is more down to earth, so to speak. It's more realistic, I would say. Easier to imagine in the near future. Yeah, there won't be
Gotcha.
some things like traveling with a mysterious alien technology. Not yet, because the timeline is not there yet.
Yeah. Eventually
So
goes
you
in that
just-
direction.
You're still in solar system, yeah, and you travel around asteroid belt.
As a sort of follow-up to that, mentioning that it's the sort of obviously very similar in terms of gameplay, would you say that it's probably also pretty safe to expect it to be a form of cover shooter, in terms of general approach to combat, or is it more open than that, or is there anything you guys want to comment in that regard?
There is, elements of cover shooter. Probably you can say that it's the basic of how combat goes, but your enemies, they will try to smoke you out of your covers or destroy your covers. So
Oh, gotcha.
you will have to move, and you will have to use your gadgets and abilities and your shooting skills.
Gotcha. So to latch on to something you just said there, so it's safe to assume there will be destructible things in the environment, including the cover itself?
Yep.
Gotcha.
And I think you could see some destructible parts in the end of the trailer.
Yes,
The game will be on GOG. It should be...
like all our games.
You should be able to wishlist on Steam, GOG, Epic Games Store, and PlayStation and Microsoft Store. It will be available there. And if you become a founder, you will also have an option on release to get a code for the platform of your choosing: Steam, GOG, Epic Games Store, PlayStation, or Xbox.
Thank you. So, Mortismal, you were going to say or ask something, and I just...
Oh, no worries. Yes, I did have a question. We were talking about combat a little bit there. I believe it's mentioned that you'll have control over your companions in combat, and there's going to be 2 with us at a time. Now, is that control just going to be like general orders, go here, do this kind of thing, or will it be a slightly more involved system, like, say, teamwork in some manner?
I think it will be kind of similar to how it was in Mass Effect. So they're pretty autonomous, but you can order them to do something for you when you need it.
Well, in a slightly different vein, I had some people asking me, and I was curious myself. Is there going to be sort of any kind of crafting or equipment? Like, I know Martian power armor is something people always like. Will you see a lot of that, or how is that handled, I guess?
Well, you will have some cool Martian armor. Not the one from the show, because it would be too, imbalance. You just put it on and march to the end of the game, destroying everything in your way. Yeah, but you will have some cool armors. You can see the fire armors is pretty advanced, but it's an engineer's suit, I think. And there will also be other ones. We will show them soon enough. Yeah, no go live. I know. I feel so sad about it, but I mean, not everyone can be Goliath.
Yeah, we've got the link in the chat, and there's also a question if the game will be available as a physical disc upon its release, and I think the answer is no.
No, we don't plan for physical release. It will be digital ones. The only physical thing that exists is the collector edition with a beautiful, beautiful ship called Gemini, which is on cover art right behind ours. Versus back. Oh, you can see it on the screen right now.
And,
Is it a class-based system or more freedom type? I think there are no set classes, but you can kind of invest your points in developing different skills and develop your own style, which you are comfortable with.
So it'll be a bit more of a free-form class system rather than something set in stone?
Kind of, yeah.
will the Founders Pack get you into the beta or some early access?
I think some of them do. Gemini, from Start to Gemini. Well, yeah, you can say that. If you feel like it, yeah. Fred Johnson made everyone say an NDA. Yes, he did. You don't mess with Fred Johnson.
Will the game be playable on the Steam Deck?
I don't know yet. We'll have more info later.
Well, I've got kind of a big question. So one thing that's come up with Kingmaker, Wrath of the Righteous, and even Rogue Trader that you guys done previously is that, especially on launch, it's been prone to bugs, as I think we all know. With this game focusing on a shift into a different engine and things like that, and obviously the higher production value, would you say there's any systems being put in place to try to catch the worst of that stuff before release? Because Rogue Trader, you guys had gotten better with it. It was, I mean, honestly, it was less buggy than Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous were on launch. And then very shortly after release, you guys handled the critical stuff. It released in December, and it was pretty well sorted out by like January, February. So I'm kind of curious what the plan is here in terms of sort of QAing that stuff, or even like a beta, that kind of thing.
Well, we always work on improving our processes.
Mhm.
I mean, we know our weaknesses more than anyone else. So we work very hard on implementing all sorts of preventive measures to make sure we properly test the game this time in advance, and we will do everything we can to release it as polished as possible.
There's also a question in the chat. Will casual clothing be an important part of the game, or mostly we will be running in vac suits?
There will be a time and place for both. When you go to a place where you will be shooting, you will put on a vac suit. Because if you, well, first of all, it acts as an armor. And secondly, you can accidentally shoot through the wall. And you wouldn't want to do that and be without a vac suit. And when you don't plan on shooting anyone, you can go just dressed casually, wearing your Miller hat from Miller Park, if you like. But you also will have your own casual outfit, and so will your companions.
But the hat is very important thing.
The hat is the best part.
Can we dress our companions in different clothes too?
I think now they have their own preferences. I mean, I can't imagine you coming up to Zafar and be like, Zafar, put on this pink bikini for me. No. I mean, maybe people will mod it though, eventually. That would tend to happen.
Would be nice, but maybe family matching sets of clothes for the
It
crew.
actually would be very cute.
Yes.
Very similar t-shirts. That would be nice.
There's also a question, will there be ship combat? And if so, how involved will it be? I think the answer is no, but correct me.
I think it will be closer to how it was done in Mass Effect. So, I mean, you have a battleship. Obviously, you will get into trouble, but there won't be a system for it. So it will be kind of based on your choices and everything like that, and mostly cinematic. Oh,
Okay.
so quickly, I'll confirm once more that the story takes place between the first two, during the first 3 seasons, or first 2.5 seasons of the show, and the first 3 books, I think. So you will see some of the events from the show and the books developing in the background, and they may affect you.